Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by BKCW Insurance. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, and I'm joined every day by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from this morning, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We're going to talk to Coach Bryan Irwin here in just a little bit. He'll be back after being on vacation the last couple of weeks, so looking forward to that. But, guys, let's start Texas off this weekend. However, their next opponent is not, as Georgia is going to face Mississippi State. I thought we would visit that for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Georgia is favored by 9.5 on the road at Mississippi State. Mississippi State's been fairly good at home this year, losing in overtime not only to Texas but also to Tennessee, beating a Arizona State team with Sam Leavitt. So we'll see exactly what the Bulldogs have in store for the Bulldogs in Starkville this weekend. Mississippi State coming off their first SEC conference win a week ago against Arkansas in Fayetteville. So, Mississippi State's riding high, at least as high as they can at this point. Georgia has been really, really solid, Jerry, I think. And while A&M and Alabama have the best record in the SEC, I'm not so sure that right now Georgia's not playing the best brand of ball. So we'll see what they take to Starkville.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So Jordan Hall, that one came out. He is out for the season. They're starting defensive lineman. Significant loss for them. Kirby talked about how he was having a really good season, really talented player. Texas tried to recruit him. I went to see him at Westover High in Jacksonville. I mean, he is really gifted, but he has battled the injury bug since he got to Georgia. He was finally healthy, was starting to play really well. Then he goes out with a right knee injury against Florida, and he is out for the year. Obviously, they're earlier in the season, they lost Colby Young, their number 2 or 3 receiver, depending on how you characterize those guys. It was Zechariah Branch, Dylan Bell, and Colby Young. He's also out for the season. So they've had a couple of season-ending ones. One last week on the defensive line that they feel like significant, so they're going to get a little younger there. So it'll be interesting to see if they get out of the Mississippi State game without any other injuries, because that's the thing I'm looking for more than anything. Obviously, Georgia has to win the football game, and honestly, you want Georgia to win the football game. You want to go in and beat the best Georgia team there is, because this is all about getting in the college football playoff if you can. So, and some people say no, you want Georgia to lose, and I get it, but I'd prefer to play teams at their best right now, with everything on the line, since Texas has rebounded and put themselves in position for these games to really matter again. But it's going to be interesting. Fluff Bothwell back for Mississippi State. Both of these teams, I think, run the ball pretty well. I'm going to see what'll be interesting is, what is Mississippi State? Can they control the Georgia linebackers in this game? Because if they can, their speed's going to get over the top of Georgia. People have done that all season to the Georgia secondary. But you got to control the linebackers. I think the linebackers have 6 of the 7 sacks for Georgia this year. Last year, what's interesting, if you look back on the game, we'll have a lot of this stuff next week. The 2 Texas-Georgia games last year, Georgia had 13 sacks in 2 games. Well, Jalen Walker and Michael Williams had 4 each. They're gone. Chaz Chambliss had 1. He's gone. And a couple others, only 1 sack remaining out of those 13 on this Georgia roster, and that's Dalen Everett, the corner. Now, the linebackers for Georgia are good. They'll probably have a sack or 2 against Texas. They're all really good players. That's where 6 of their sacks have come from this year. But a lot of the guys that wreaked havoc against Texas last year are gone. So when you watch Georgia, if this Georgia-Mississippi State game is the first time you've watched Georgia, it's going to be a lot different looking team. They're talented. They're not as good as they have been on defense. They're talented, but it's all about controlling the linebackers next week for Texas.
It's about controlling the linebackers and scoring points, because I think Georgia is going to score points. They do a good job of mixing run and pass. Gunnar Stockton, I mean, quietly, I know everybody's talking about Ty Simpson at Alabama. Gunnar Stockton's quietly having a really, really productive, efficient year for Georgia. Georgia favored again by 9.5. That's the 11 o'clock game tomorrow, by the way, on ESPN. So there are 3 big 11 o'clock games tomorrow. Georgia, Mississippi State, BYU, Texas Tech is on ABC. And then Indiana goes to Penn State at 11 on Fox. So Three big games to start for this one. Hey, before we go to the next segment and talk about Sark's record after bye weeks, Blake Monroe did some background checking on that. We need to tell folks about our sponsor each and every Friday's live stream. That is BKCW Insurance. Did your business have a frustrating insurance or employee benefits renewal? Most likely you didn't hear from your agent all year, and then right before it was time to renew, your agent delivered the bad news of a rate increase. When this happens, the agent is providing no value, and you're stuck in what we call the insurance trap. BKCW takes you out of the insurance trap by providing you with actual risk management consulting, not just price quoting. Operating out of its headquarters in Austin and owned by a UT grad, BKCW uses a 5-step process to identify your business's weak spots, design a plan, execute it, and monitor your situation throughout the years so that you can lower your insurance costs while effectively managing your company's risk. BKCW has already helped some of the most well-known construction companies, restaurant groups, breweries, and nonprofits in Central Texas escape the insurance trap, and it all starts with a free risk assessment. Go to bkcw.com or send an email, info@bkcw.com to get started with a free risk assessment or claims audit. Escape the insurance trap with BKCW.
Yes, as you said, Bobby, I did do some digging here, and Sark, looking at his post-bye week record at Washington, he was 7-1. At USC, he was 2-1. At Texas, he was 4-2. Those two being Baylor, his first year, and then of course Florida earlier this season. So 13-4 overall for Sark coming out of the bye week.
Yeah, and this year, obviously, the loss to Florida on the road. Yeah. So he's 0 for this year on that. But look, I mean, it'd be interesting to look at most of these guys that are at the power programs, what their record is after the bye week. It's probably pretty good because they all have really good players. And then they get an extra week to get healthy and prepare. Maybe we could do a Kirby Smart comparison after bye weeks next week. But yeah, look, it's this game is we're all talking about Texas versus Georgia. We've talked about the players already with another week to go. This is a really big game for Steve Sarkisian because he is 0-2 against Kirby, and they're not on the schedule the next couple of years after, unless you play them in an SEC championship game. So if he doesn't get this one, what's the talk going to be at? You can't beat Kirby Smart. You're 0-3. You're like everybody else except Nick Saban or Alabama. And then 0-2 against Kalen DeBoer in the league, which they come back, and people are going to say, oh, you're 0-2 against Ryan Day. This is a really big game for Steve Sarkisian coming up. I mean, it's a huge game for University of Texas and Georgia. But from a coaching standpoint, Bobby, this is a big game for Sark personally, because what you don't want is to lose again to Georgia, and then people start posting the record of 0-7 versus Kirby, Kalen DeBoer, and Ryan Day, because that's going to be slammed everywhere on national media. So it's a big game for Sark.
It is, and I think it's a great point, Jerry, that maybe many haven't thought of quite yet, as we we're 8 days away from the game, and I'm sure it's going to be picked over by that time, but it's good to bring that up. Look, Sark has been pretty good when he's had time to prepare, and he circles a game. Like, I'm not sure that, for example, and what I mean by that, I guess, is this year I'm not sure he circled Florida coming off the bye week. He was probably more concerned with OU in the Cotton Bowl a week later, right? But when he has time to prepare and has circled a game, the results have been pretty strong. And so we'll see if that's the case this week against Georgia, or this next week against Georgia, because I think that's more of where he kind of comes with it a little bit. And only thing that I would add to that, Jerry, and look, it's clear he's gone to more 11 personnel look, Jerry and Blake, over the last two games, and has needed to, right? I mean, otherwise Texas isn't sitting where they're at right now. If they stay in 12 personnel, the blocking just wasn't working, right? The pocket was cloudy. I mean, if not breaking down entirely, too many issues. They thinned out the box by going to 11 personnel, and I think it helped the offensive line immensely. So what I'm saying is this: part of Sark's ingenuity and what he's known for is his ingenuity out of 12 personnel, not his ingenuity out of 11 personnel. So that may take a little bit of that surprise element away from Sark in this game. Just saying that. If they go to 11, it's more of that scenario, Jerry. So we'll see. Hey, we got a guest coming in. He should be rested and ready, tanned, all that good stuff. Bryan Irwin, Coach, how you doing this morning, buddy? Oh, you're we can't hear you, man. Oh, that was good, I think.
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we got you now. A little bit louder. We're missing you. We're losing you again, Bryan. You can't hear you now.
All right, let me back off.
Okay, we'll take you off. We'll bring you back on in a minute. There we go. What happened to the blinking lights, Jerry? Did you lose?
people in the chat were saying it was a bit much, but I was taking it to another level today. I went Merry Christmas hat with corn dog and mayo today.
Oh my gosh. Screenshot that, somebody. Screenshot that and tag me on Twitter.
Jerry, come on. Let's get real. Let's get real here. Hey, we're gonna ask Bryan a little bit about what he saw in those two games. I did ask him. I know he saw the Mississippi State game and what Steve Sarkisian did there. We're gonna see what he has to say. Otherwise, I think we can go back to Bryan now, guys.
Bring him back in.
Coach, you there?
Can you hear me now?
We got you, dude. We got you. So, Coach, you do look a little tanned.
No.
You've been in Italy, Greece, Turkey. What is that? What is a high school football coach doing in Italy, Greece, and Turkey in the middle of football season? I mean, what's happening to you? Are you soft now?
It was Turkey and Greece. I didn't go to Italy, but I did the western side of Turkey, the 7 churches of Revelation. It was one heck of a spiritual journey. But, yeah, it was pretty expensive. It's a pretty expensive deal. So I'm actually in Baton Rouge today on business. I hear they've got an open job over here in Baton Rouge. And so I'm trying to see what I can do to pay for that trip I just took.
Well, they would like you. You'd be a good fit there, man. You kind of fit their style of fan there, I think. So they would like you, Coach, in Baton Rouge. You're the opposite of Brian Kelly, so you do well there.
You think I'd feel a little better than Brian Kelly?
You might.
I think the accent might be a little more genuine. I'll just put it that way.
The only difference is he wouldn't have considered that trip expensive.
Exactly.
Hey, Bryan, I don't know. I know you got a chance to watch the Mississippi State game. Did you get a chance to watch the Vanderbilt game as well? Because I think you were coming back on the way. Before we start talking, I want to ask you if you got a chance to see those.
I've got one more piece of travel advice for Longhorn fans. Never, ever go to Europe during football season.
Yeah.
It trying to get a game was virtually impossible. The Mississippi State game, I set my alarm. I woke up at 11:15 p.m. there to turn that on. Couldn't get it. Finally found it on YouTube. I streamed it, bootlegged it on YouTube somehow. Everything went really good. At 3:30 in the morning, I'm totally frustrated, and then all of a sudden we mount the comeback. So I was up till like 4 a.m. watching that marvelous game, streamed and being cut out and losing service, then getting it back, and almost giving up on our guys twice. But I'm glad I stayed up for the duration. The second game against Vanderbilt, it just didn't work out. Disney or somebody didn't allow these bootleg copies on YouTube, so I couldn't get it all. Went to every bar in town. They wouldn't give me anything but rugby and soccer, and just wouldn't cooperate. So I went back to the YouTube route, and YouTube was kicking me off every 5 seconds. So I did it the old-fashioned way. I listened to the game. Hadn't done that since I was about 7 years old, and it reminded me of those days when I was a kid, and I just listened to the Texas Longhorns. So it was pretty fun, pretty special.
That's good stuff. Hey, part of this mounted comeback by the Longhorns, the last 5 quarters or whatever you want to call it, has been going to more 11 personnel, protecting Arch Manning better, and Arch really finding some time with his receivers in synchronicity with his receivers, for lack of a better term. What did you see in that Mississippi State game that that maybe saw that carried over from the sounds of it in Vanderbilt?
Yeah, the 11 personnel I think best fits us when we're healthy at receiver. I think DeAndre Moore is starting to find his legs. Wing is starting to play. Mosley I've been impressed with him since the first ball game he played, and he's getting better and better and better. Jack injury, so I just think our receiving core is finally starting to hit their stride. And then the timing of our offense and what we need to do with Arch, getting the ball out a little quicker, throwing the ball out to the flat, blocking some stuff up, and then also throwing some controlled passing game things across the middle. So just getting the ball out of Arch's hands, he looks more confident. His rhythm, him throwing on time, and then you combine that with improved efforts in the run game and improved efforts by our offensive line starting to gel, starting to come together a little bit. And I think that is the recipe for success.
Hey, Coach, so moving on to Georgia, obviously these guys got very familiar with each other last year. Georgia doesn't have they don't have the defensive line personnel they did a year. Christian Miller's a really good player. Obviously, their other starter, Jordan Hall's now out for the year, got hurt against Florida last week. But Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, who was the hybrid everything and All-American linebacker, and they moved him to the edge just to get after the quarterback. But they lost 5 of their top 6 defensive linemen. But their linebackers are what's really good, and their secondary can be had this year. How do you, when you think about Texas and 11 personnel, kind of what transpired last year, kind of how do you see that matchup early on?
I think it helps in 11 because you can spread those linebackers out a little bit, make them play in a little bit more space instead of, in the box. Because if you're in 12, they're going to be just sitting there in the box ready to roll, knowing that they're not going to be expanded much by the formation. So if we can spread them out a little bit, don't let them play in a phone booth, make them honor the pass both horizontally and vertically and over the top of them across the middle, and then block it up front, get the down linemen taken care of, those 4 down linemen, and then maybe we can combo up to one of those linebackers or give that linebacker to Wisner or CJ and tell them to make him miss.
Hey, Brian, Jerry brought something up earlier in this show. Let me get your take on it. This is a big game for Steve Sarkisian coming up, actually, against Kirby Smart, because he's 0 for 2 against Kirby. He lost a couple games to Ryan Day, Kellen DeBoer. Those are 3 of the top coaches in the game right now, right? And Sark's 0 for against them. How big a game, and you're a former coach. So I know as a coach, you're trying to just keep it on the team and all that other stuff. But is that a mountain to climb as a coach since you've been one before? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, there's always the game within the game. And the coaches out there that are very good coaches, highly respected. Their kids play hard. Their kids execute, especially in the fourth quarter. And that's a challenge that Sark's got is to try to defeat Kirby Smart. They both come from the Alabama lineage, and that's another aspect of this. So I think, deep down inside, those coaches that you can pinpoint and say, if I can knock this guy off, it really helps. It gives me maybe a little bit more credibility, the ability to get it done in a big ball game. It also obviously helps on the recruiting trail. So, I think it's there. Is it huge? No. But is it there? Yes.
Hey, Coach, so Georgia, much different offense than last year. So they got Carson Beck moved on to Miami, and he's tearing that program apart in his post-game press conferences currently. 21 interceptions in his last 18 games. Good $5 million spent by Miami there. But moving on back to Georgia, Gunnar Stockton brings a dual threat ability to them. They are running it 335 rushing attempts versus 245 passing attempts. They're running the football with Chauncey Bowens-Frazier and then Gunnar Stockton off of those guys much better than they did a year ago, even with ETN. I think it's more consistent. And they've had to do that through offensive line injuries. And then they get Zechariah Branch, who is a playmaker at wide receiver, and Dylan Bell, London Humphreys. Those guys are back as well. Good set of tight ends. But the Georgia offense is going to be different than the one Texas went up against last year, even though Stockton played the second half of that game. But if you've watched Georgia this year, what do you see offensively from them? Because I think tackling in space is going to be a huge, huge deal for this Texas defense, especially after Vandy last week.
Yeah, they're very physical running the football. And then what's neat to watch is their quarterback. I really like him, Gunnar Stockton. I think they've caught lightning in a bottle twice now. That's been and Gunnar Stockton being incredible leaders and very good athletes. Stetson Bennett was very underrated, in my opinion, as an athlete and with his legs. And same thing with Gunnar Stockton. He's quick. He can run. I think they're heady players. They're leaders. They make plays with their feet, with their arm. So I think I see a lot of balance with their offense. And that's the toughest type of offense to stop, is one that is truly balanced.
You look at Georgia, and Jerry just mentioned that disparity in the run pass, but they move it both ways. They've been successful both ways. And I think that is what's going to be difficult for Texas, because Texas has been fairly good against the run this year. They've been susceptible in the past game against Mississippi State, against Vanderbilt. I mean, Pavia threw for a record high. Is that something that Texas can mitigate quickly in a game like this, or is that just going to be best on best and we see what happens, Brian?
Becoming healthy and getting healthy with Taff and McDonald and Muhammad could play a big part in that, I believe.
Okay.
Just overall, our zone defense has just been pretty porous. And ultimately, zone needs to turn to man pretty quick. In any zone coverage. Doesn't matter if we're playing cover 2, cover 4, cover 3, and you're pattern reading that stuff. As you pattern read it, it becomes man coverage pretty quick. And I'm not sure why there's so much separation, so much cushion in us not closing that gap or closing that cushion with the receivers in our zone coverages. We've played man pretty well. I know, when you're playing a guy like Pavia, you don't want to play a ton of man, because if he breaks loose and you're sitting there playing man, he's chasing you down the field, So I understand mixing it up and trying to play a little bit more zone. That way you got more eyes on the quarterback. You got more eyes on when the ball comes out. You have a better opportunity to get interceptions in zone defense because you're seeing the ball come out. In man, you're not seeing the ball come out. You're playing the man, you're in his hip pocket, you're in his ear hole, and you're playing the ball at the last minute. So, we still got to be able to mix it up both ways, but we've got to tighten up our zone coverage. We've got to pattern read better, and we've got to close the cushion much, much sooner.
Coach, last couple of things I have for you. You brought up something about Georgia's run game and physicality. I think anybody, chat, Georgia fan, Texas fan, knows that Kirby Smart's going to take his us against the world mentality into this game, and he is going to challenge his team to physically whip up on Texas like he did last year and Florida did on the road this year. That's going to be the number one thing. So I want you to speak to that, especially coming off the Florida game where Florida got after Texas physically on the road a few weeks ago. Then the other thing for me is, how much does it benefit Texas to have an off week while Georgia's got to go play on the road against Mississippi State team? So having the off week when the other team's playing, what kind of advantage does that have other than Texas getting Ryan Wingo and Taff and those guys healthy?
Yeah, first of all, with Kirby, we know the kind of coach he is. I love his style. I love the way he talks to his players. I've heard a lot of halftime speeches, things like that. It's going to be us versus the world. It's going to be the Georgia physicality, the Georgia, blue blood in the SEC versus the newbie. And, I just know that he's going to be preaching the physicality, and we did it twice last year, and we're going to try to do it again this year. We got him at home. First, the 2 games last year we didn't truly have them at home. And I think physicality wise, that's going to be the mindset. He's going to challenge his guys. There's no way they're walking in here and beating us up. We're gonna beat them up. We're gonna make it a 4-quarter game. And once we get to the fourth quarter, we're going to do what Georgia does, and that's win and dominate the fourth quarter. That's the mindset. And I appreciate and I respect that mindset a ton. So we've got to counter that, say no, we're not giving in that. We're just as physical, we're just as tough, and we've got to dominate the fourth quarter. So it's going to be a matter of wills and who wants it the most, who makes the plays, who executes, who's the most disciplined in the fourth quarter. I really believe the fourth quarter is going to be a huge aspect and component to this game.
You mentioned that. I mean, Georgia's been dominant in the fourth quarter this year. It is the sign of a championship club. That's what I was saying earlier when I said it feels like they're peaking at the right time for them. You know, they've been giving up. I mean, they were down to Auburn at half, right? But then they come back, and all of a sudden it's an avalanche in the fourth quarter, and they're playing well on both offense and defense. Kirby Smart's got a great team. He really does. But Texas is going to have to be ready for him. And Alabama got out front early, Jerry, right? Yeah. Got out front early. That seems to be the MO on Georgia. Get out front early and see if they can actually play catch up or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. Bryan, any other thoughts before we let you go here this morning?
No, just, my prayer was while I was away that Texas would still be alive, and we are. And it was fun to watch from abroad and try to figure out ways to watch and listen and follow. Even you guys, I watched and followed some weird hours in the morning and weird hours of the day, but it's just good to still be alive. I feel so good about the program and the team, how tough we are, and what we did against Mississippi State. What we did, how we played well against Vanderbilt. So it's a good time to be a Longhorn, and Sark is doing a fantastic job. The offense seems to be revitalized, and we figured out who we are and what we need to do and the right combination on the offensive line. But again, it's November, and we got a chance. And like I used to tell my football team, hey, don't give us a chance. You better not give us a chance. And because if you give us a chance, we're gonna beat you. And right now, Sark's got our team in a position where we're still alive. We got a chance. As long as we got a chance, we got life, and we got belief.
All right, Coach Bryan Irwin. Thanks, Coach. You have a good day. Apply for that job while you're over there in Baton Rouge this morning, man. Put the resume in.
I'll do it.
Are you a Jimmy Sexton guy? If not, you have no chance.
Well, yeah, I'm as soon as Nick leaves out of here, I'm gonna follow Nick on this deal. So we'll see. But no, I'm my own agent, so I don't have Jimmy Sexton.
Take care, Coach. We'll see you.
All right. Talk to you guys later.
See you on Monday on Lunch with the Coach, man. Take care. Always a good man. Always a good discussion.
Tough place to be if you don't have Jimmy Sexton or Trace Armstrong in college football.
That those seem to be the two, right? Sexton and Armstrong. I was going to say the thing about that Bryan always brings, that description he had of listening to the games on the radio.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That does, for me at least, brings back memories of driving the car, being in there with my dad, listening to the games while we're going to work on a rent house or something. Who knows what we were doing back in the day, but that's a fun time and a fun thing to do sometimes as well. He also made a great point. I mean, Texas is alive.
Yeah,
that you can't ask for more than that after a 3-2 start. I mean, they were 3-2 at the beginning of October. It's now November. They're going to be midway through November, and they're still alive.
Yeah,
couldn't ask for more. So
yeah, and look, and we're going to get to college coaching carousel. We're going to get to probably some of the games. So I started a question about Texas Tech and BYU, and obviously you want to win out. If you get the 10-2, you're in the playoffs. That's great. But if you don't, I think a 9-3 team is going to end up getting in this year. So it's going to be interesting to see how all this plays out. There's a reason to follow it, which is good because it was shaky for a while.
All right, Jerry, do me a favor. Tell us this morning about Culligan.
When it comes to the water your family drinks and uses every day, you don't want to cut corners. That's why for over 90 years, people have trusted Culligan. And here in Austin, Culligan Ultrapure has been serving the community for more than 60 years. Culligan Ultrapure provides high-quality residential water treatment at an affordable price, including reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights. Whether your water comes from a well or a municipal source, Culligan has the perfect treatment solution for your home. This is very important. And right now, you can schedule a free water test and save up to $600 when you mention On Texas Football. Culligan Ultrapure proudly serves Austin, Corpus Christi, Victoria, Brownwood, Pampa, and Plainview. So don't wait. Call Culligan Ultrapure today. Ask for Michael at 512-339-2378 to schedule your free water analysis. That's 512-339-2378. Better water starts with Culligan. And interesting reading the towns, the cities that they provide service to. I mean, Pampa's home of Rayford Young, Brownwood, Gordon Wood, and all his victories. Victoria, they actually won a state championship, lost the state championship in basketball. Really good team. Corpus Christi, Austin. Culligan Water, ask for Michael. Get that water tested. Reverse osmosis systems, water softeners, and UV purification lights.
Kenny Vaccaro at Brownwood, too.
Tell
us about Vaughn Lane.
Oh, I can do that. Vaughn Lane is it's a favorite of ours. Let's just say that. And by the way, the TSA hassle right now, the long lines, everything that's going on with the shutdown. Vaughn Lane sounds like option number one this fall. The road to football games and events run through Vaughn Lane, whether it's any Texas game, NFL matchups in Houston or Dallas, your Austin F1 race, any activities, concerts you want to go to. You can skip the airport grind and the long drive, especially around holiday time. Their seats are filling up fast. Instead, board in minutes, no TSA, no stress, and seeking to just one of 22 oversized seats that recline 140 degrees. Fire up the Wi-Fi, plug in your laptop, or lean back with a cold beer cocktail while your attendant takes care of the rest. Vaughn Lane is booking now through the holidays, and they are filling up fast. So secure your seat for football weekends and Thanksgiving or Christmas travel. Reserve today at vaughnlane.com and use promo code OTF25 to save $20 off that first trip. Vaughn Lane, private jet on wheels. And boy, I wouldn't want to fly right now, so call Vaughn Lane.
And I'm going to tell everyone this morning about our friends at Prize Picks, because we make decisions daily, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. And it's simple to play. You're just going to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get those picks right, you can cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. It's the best way to get in on sports action in more than 40 states, including California, Florida, Georgia, and right here in Texas. And this week, I'm taking Alabama quarterback Ty Simpson to have more than 1.5 passing touchdowns, Ohio State wide receiver Carnell Tate to have more than 79.5 receiving yards, and USC tight end Lake McRee to have less than 26.5 receiving yards. So come join me on those picks or make your own in less than 60 seconds. Turn your sports opinions into real money. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code ONTEXAS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. And that's Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Jerry, you mentioned Pampa earlier and brought up Rayford Young. How dare you not mention the original Pampa harvester, Zach Thomas?
Zach Thomas was there. Yeah. Zach Thomas is from Rayford Young. I went to the state high school basketball tournament and saw Rayford Young in Pampa. That was my first run-in with Pampa.
Yeah.
Thomas, yes.
Here's my Zach Thomas story, because I believe he graduated high school either 91 or 92. I can't remember which. And I was at the University of Texas at the time, and I was one of the ones responsible for film intake of recruits, right? And a GA from Texas came in and said, "Holy S, you've got to watch this guy." And he literally put on the tape for me and a guy named Mike Arias, and Mike was the he ran the video department at Texas for 30 years, retired a couple years back, and he put the tape on, and Zach Thomas made like the first 6 tackles of the game. And they weren't just ordinary tackles. They literally were thuds. I mean, he was decapitating people out there. And we go, where's he going? And he goes, he said he's going to Texas Tech right now, but we're trying to get in on him. And then Coach McWilliams, at the time, I believe it was, came down to the video office, and he rarely came to the video office, like once a year at most, right? And that just wasn't his deal. But he came to watch the film, and Coach McWilliams is an old linebacker as well, and or at least a linebacker coach. And Coach McWilliams' eyes after the first 2 plays got bigger. He went, whoa. So, yeah, Zach Thomas, Pampa Harvester, good player.
Yeah. What's interesting about Zach Thomas, and this is kind of one of the things I talk about all the time because we're in combine high school recruiting. He would have showed up at a Nike camp or Under Armour camp in high school, and he'd have been 5'10 and a half, 215, 220, and run 4.7.
Yep.
And he would have got ranked low. Just something that's kind of where we're at nowadays. The instinctive, really good football players, man, we're in the NFL combine rankings age of recruiting. Some of those guys, Byron Murphy was like that too. That borderline 3-star. One person had him as a 4-star, but 6 foot, 275. He would have been. Can he play in the SEC? I don't think Texas would have taken Byron Murphy right now, and I think that's a massive mistake.
Friend of mine, you're speaking of this stuff, and it's good that you did. A friend of mine sent me some first-round draft picks in their Nike camp measurables coming out of high school. 6'2 and a half, 269. This is a kid from Houston.
Yeah.
6'2 and a half, 269, and ran a 5.41. Ended up being a first rounder. That 6'2 and a half, 269. 90% of college coaches are passing just on those measurables alone.
Yes.
And then running a 5.41. That's not like showing any kind of athleticism, really, right? Well, that young man's name is Rashawn Slater.
Yep.
Who now is an extremely good pro football player. Jamar Chase. What do you think, Jamar Chase, one of the best receivers in the game, right? Out of LSU. What do you think he ran at the Nike camp, Jerry?
We had him in the Under Armour game, so I saw him at camps. He wasn't a testing fast guy. Probably in the high 4.6s, low 4.6s.
Yeah, 4.66. Jamar Chase in high school. So everybody's looking for the prettiest woman at the ball in these combine scenarios. They're not necessarily the best players.
Yep. And Jamar Chase had football speed, right? And so you had to distinguish between those two. And like similar to a Zach Thomas, in today's day and age, Datwin would have showed up at some Under Armour Nike combine at 5'9 and a half, 225, running 4.75 out of high school, and he might not have ended up at A&M. And what did he end up doing? So it's very interesting where recruiting's at nowadays. I think the instincts and game speed are not factored in enough because they have all the combine times out there. And that combines are good for kids too. If you can roll out of bed and run 4.4 and you show up at an Under Armour or combine, your stock goes through the roof in terms of recruiting. So there's the good and the bad of it.
Well, I think there's some value in getting fast players. I'm not debating the value of that. My debate is this idea that just because a guy doesn't fit a certain pro forma that you discard or discount him.
Yep.
You need to watch them all, in my opinion. You got to watch them all on film.
And by the way, Trills Mac says something. I agree with this. There's a technique to it. The other thing with the camps, from running those camps for many years, that's interesting when you look at them, and every year you kind of look back at the camps and who you saw and kind of what do we need to change about these camps. So imagine being a a running back, and like at an Under Armour camp, they're the first group out. And so imagine you get up at 5 a.m. and you drive in a car for 3 hours and you show up at your camp and then you run right out of the gate. And then imagine if you don't really know how to start, you're just out there on sheer who you are. You're going to put in a slow time. I mean, you're going to put in a slower time than what you would if you trained for it, or maybe didn't get up at 5 a.m, drive 3 hours, and then just roll out and run a 40. So there's so many things that factor into these camps as well. And knowing how to start is a big part of it. And that's why you see these times drop at the NFL Combine, because they train for months just on the start of the 40 and the technique of the 40. So I agree with Trills Mac.
All right, y'all. We got to say happy birthday to somebody. Jeff here says, good morning, everyone. Today's my birthday, and I'm grateful for this community and the people I've met here virtually. Here's to my Jackie Robinson year. Hook 'em. So happy birthday.
42, baby. Let's hear it.
Very cool.
Is there anybody that's 56 that's any good? Anybody got a good 56 for me?
Where's number 56?
I know. Is there a good 56 out there?
I will look that up. I will see what I can find out here. Let's see.
Lawrence Taylor.
Oh, well, it's been that kind of wreck for me at times this year. I've been all over the map. So yeah.
He's definitely the greatest 56. Anything I just looked up really quick.
56 Chevy. There you go. Oh, Derek Johnson for a time wore 56.
That's true.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep. I'll be dang. There's a lot of good ones, actually, after I typed it in and looked it up.
Coaching carousel, Blake.
Yes. I want to get to that. Before we get to that, I'm going to let Bobby answer this one because I know he's heard it a little bit. This from Juan Garza. We'll use this to lead into coaching. Bobby and Jerry, what do you think of all the comments that Alex Golish said about Jeff Traylor as far as roster building goes?
Yeah,
Bobby?
I mean, look, Alex Golish is – Jerry, you and I talked about this. Jeff Traylor has been ambushed at a level on his own roster at UTSA over the last several years. Whether that's a receiver that goes to Oregon, a kicker that's how about a kicker that's at that's at Oklahoma right now?
Yeah,
right. I mean, any way and every way you could take a player. Yeah, Trey Moore's one of them as well. Correct. He's been kind of ambushed in that way, so he's feeling the pain of being that lower level group of 5 conference guy, even though he's a good coach and he's recruited well and identified well, right? Golish took some offense to it, I felt like, because he essentially was calling out other teams in his league having more money, etc. And Golish put it on Traylor last night. Now, Traylor did have 2 defensive touchdowns scored on him before South Florida actually had the ball on offense. But we'll see. I mean, it feels like to me, and Jerry, Jeff infinitely better than I do on a personal level. It seems to me like he's saying it might be time if UTSA is not going to get behind this program even more as we go up the ladder in conferences, because they have, under his guidance, they have not only gone up in conferences, they've competed at the highest level of that conference. Then it may be time for him to look for another place. That's how I interpreted the conversation earlier this week from Coach Traylor. I think that the Alex Golish, the South Florida coach who beat UTSA last night pretty soundly, he wasn't really having any of it.
Yeah. Look, I think these are really tough jobs. These are really tough jobs over the long haul. You almost have to win and get out. And even if you go to a different G5 job, I just don't know the future of these jobs really. But UTSA, I think this is a fight of pretty much saying, hey, people have to step up here and help. We need an indoor. We need some things done from financial standpoint. If you actually think UTSA is going to be able to compete long term in the conference we're in and moving forward, be able to keep some of these guys on this team so we can have consistency. It's tough to have consistency with these jobs nowadays for the reasons Bobby said. And I think this is more of a kind of shot to not coaches in the league, but to UTSA itself. Are you going to step up or not?
Yep.
By the way, Arkansas, somebody said trailer to Arkansas. Arkansas made their hire. Silverleaf from Memphis.
When did they do that? Because I missed it.
I think it was yesterday afternoon. It's been people. It started a break that Silverleaf from Memphis was he's gonna take the job at Arkansas.
Well, going to Memphis for a coach worked out really well for Florida State, right? Or not. It worked really well for Virginia Tech, or not.
Yeah.
The thing about Memphis in that job is you have a talent advantage over many of your conference contenders. So be careful when you hire coaches that have an inherent talent advantage at their school to go to another school that is not going to have that advantage.
People are saying it's not official yet.
Apparently, there's a report out that they are considering him along with Alex Golish and John Gruden as the other.
So some people got ahead of themselves reporting he was going to be the guy.
Yeah, they have not made one.
Okay.
As of this morning. So, with that said, let's talk about coaches a little bit. And by the way, guys, today is Texas High School Coaches Day. So I know we have a lot of coaches that tune in to On Texas Football Daily, and just want to thank them for all they do for kids across the state. So that is very cool. But let's look at the coaching carousel here. A lot of coaches already gone as we're just in the early part of November, and a few of them were gone within the first couple of weeks, fellas. But what is that? 12, I believe, total. I didn't even put Kent State on here. They've already hired theirs, but so 13 if you count them. But a lot going on in the coaching carousel today.
So obviously Florida's the big one, right? I think Florida is still the odds-on favorite for Lane Kiffin. We'll see if he actually is going to leave Ole Miss. I mean, I think he probably should take the Florida job. It'd be fun for the SEC, I think. But I think Florida still has confidence there, but we'll see. Nothing's to the finish line yet. LSU is going to be fascinating because they hired Osbury from inside of the athletics department as the new AD. What is that going to mean?
He's not. The thing with Osbury, Jerry, is he's not the full-time AD. They rescinded that.
No, they already rescinded that too.
Yeah.
He's the interim still.
Yep.
Auburn is interesting because Auburn will be interesting. Does Eli Drinkwitz? What does Eli Drinkwitz do after this year at Missouri? Can he get one of these jobs? There's a lot going on in the college coaching carousel right now. Penn State, who knows which way that job's going. Oregon State, Bob, you'd kind of heard something on Oregon State, and all this stuff can change, right? But you kind of heard something there. So all I know is we're less than a month from signing day. And I'll let Bobby comment on some of this stuff too, but I want to get into how it's impacting Texas in recruiting, especially LSU and Florida.
Yeah, it does impact recruiting clearly, and we will talk about that. I think that'd be probably the point that really matters to Texas fans most. I've heard Paul Christ at Oregon State, the former Texas offensive assistant a couple of years ago, that used to be the longtime Wisconsin coach. He's a real possibility there, apparently. Look, Oklahoma State's a regional job. Could they pry Eric Morris away from North Texas? Could they pry Jeff Traylor away from potentially UTSA? We'll have to wait and see, but that would make sense for them. The other one that is just not getting as much play as it was only 2 or 3 weeks ago right now is Penn State, Jerry.
Yeah.
I mean, what's Penn State going to do now that Signetti said no and has upped his salary? that Matt Rule has upped his salary. Two of their go-to guys seemingly gone already. One of these guys, whether it's LSU or Penn State, I think are going to end up trying to go after Joe Brady, the former offensive coordinator for LSU, that is now the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. And so he is a guy that I would watch out for at a couple of different spots. But let's talk a little bit more about recruiting. LSU, Florida, Texas has talked to some of those recruits. We've seen some other UCLA recruits be involved as well. What are you hearing on guys like Havon Finney, Jerry, and guys like that?
Yeah, I haven't heard anything on Finney. I think the interesting thing will be more, can you get Richard Anderson on campus? Briston Martinez has been on campus. He's scheduled for an OV. Texas is still making the Arkansas weekend the big visit weekend. That's still, again, though, so much is going to depend on, I'm actually working on the story. It just takes a long time to build out, just the Texas commits in the playoffs. But playoffs are starting this week for some states. Most of them are next week. State of Georgia's next week. Louisiana, Texas, everybody's starting the playoffs next week. So who is playing when in the playoffs is going to be so key in getting kids in from out of state on campus. Like a Richard Anderson and Ed Dakar, who Texas badly wants to go on campus. Are they going to play a Friday night game on the 21st? Or are they going to play a Saturday game on the 22nd? Probably Friday on the 21st, right? So Texas is angling for a November 22nd visit to get some of those guys on campus. A Dre Quinn, obviously Buford's in the playoffs, right? So some of these, majority of these teams are going to play on Friday night. But if there is somebody that plays on a Saturday, that's going to knock them out. And that's why when somebody reported earlier in the week, Richard Anderson's going to visit for the A&M game, I was like, that's probably not going to happen, because Ed in the car there has a playoff game that day, or they have a playoff game the next day, and you're not going to travel to Austin and turn around and go right back because you're going to have practice that day. You'd miss a playoff practice, which wouldn't have, or a walkthrough, which wasn't going to happen. So Texas is working on November 22nd to see how many of these kids they can get on campus. The playoff schedules for so many teams, because most of these kids are on really good teams, is going to be the key there for Texas. But, Kendall Gerville, Texas is trying to get on campus. We'll see what happens there. I think there's a lot going on. Some of these kids are facing a lot of pressure from collectives not to make visits right now. So there's a lot that's going on. Texas staff is on the road. I'm pretty sure Kyle Flood went down to see Briston Martinez at some point. I think Kenny Baker is on the road in Alabama, in Louisiana, in Mississippi, seeing Vodney Cleveland, seeing Corey Wells, going probably to see Richard Anderson. Somebody's going to be down in Florida. We're expecting that. Somebody will be out in Georgia, probably seeing some edge guys today. So Texas staff's all on the road. A couple of guys will be in state as well. Texas staff's on the road. I think another thing will be, I'm not sure we've seen the last of any 26 offers. That could happen on the D line. That could happen at edge. That could happen at linebacker, potentially happen at corner. And it doesn't just have to be high school. I think JUCO is potentially on the table too a little bit.
Jerry, we got a super chat here from Rocky P. He says, with all the big name coaching positions that are still open, do you think we'll see more players holding out till the second signing day?
No, because I don't. Because at the major schools, Bobby says the NIL, yes, you want to get enrolled and start your clock for those that aren't getting paid or aren't already getting paid, which is happening. But 70 at these major schools, the kids Texas is recruiting, 75-80% of these guys are graduating high school in December, and they want to get enrolled in January to, like Bobby said, start that NIL clock if they aren't already getting paid by certain schools or collectives that are committed elsewhere. So I don't see that happening. Maybe one or two kids, but those aren't going to be the early enrollee kids.
I would add to it, Jerry, it's not just the fact that they graduate early, you reserve your spot.
Yeah.
Because otherwise there is money to be spent and they might go spend it on somebody else.
Yeah. Yes.
So there's like a group that will go on on the first signing day, no matter what, and should, frankly.
And should. And by the way, a smaller piece to that too is reserving your spot. You want to get in before the portal opens.
Right.
I mean, you want to be signed and NIL deal and letter of intent, whatever that means. You want to be good to go before that portal opens. And people say, oh, well, maybe we can spend here. So you're SOL.
Yes, I agree with that. I mean, particularly at positions that take long to bake.
Yeah.
I mean, bake, like just develop offensive line.
Yeah.
Tough stuff.
Around this time last season, what was the Aggies' record? Well, they're not going to have to fall off the cliff if that's what you're asking. They're a better team, and they're not playing as Missouri. If Missouri had their first team quarterback, that game looks a little different. But then if A&M beats Missouri Saturday as they're expected to, then they have Samford and South Carolina at home. South Carolina's offensive line stands no chance against A&M.
All right, guys, let's talk a little bit about a couple of our sponsors this week. If you're like me, when it comes to eyewear, you need a high-quality, easy solution that's also affordable. That's why I use Warby Parker. Easy, affordable, and the selection just can't be beat. Glasses start at $95 and include prescription lenses with anti-reflective, scratch-resistant coatings. Add a pair and save 15% when you purchase 2 or more prescription pairs of glasses or sunglasses, free shipping, and free 30-day returns. Warby Parker has over 300 locations nationwide to help you find your next pair of glasses. But you can also head over to warbyparker.com/ontexas right now to try on any pair virtually. It's a really cool feature. It's what I did. I got a couple of pairs, absolutely love them. I have progressive lenses. A lot of people my age need those. All I had to do was put in my prescription, and they literally showed up in less than 2 weeks. Tremendous. I can't promise it'll be 2 weeks, but tremendous service. That's warbyparker.com/ontexas. warbyparker.com/ontexas.
And tell us about Mint Mobile, Bobby.
I can do that as well. I sent my son off to college with this plan. I've told you about it before. You know what doesn't belong to your college football plans? I'll tell you what, a high wireless bill. I'm actually up here seeing my son right now in college. I used this to get him some stuff yesterday. Your wireless bill should be the last thing holding you back. That's why you can make the switch to Mint Mobile. With Mint, you can get coverage and speed you're used to, but for way less money. And for a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/ontexas. That's mintmobile.com/ontexas. Upfront payment of $45 is required. Limited time new customer offer for 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Again, mintmobile.com/ontexas.
And I need to tell everyone about Huel as well. Huel, man. I love Huel. 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 You ever have those mornings where you're running out the door, no time for breakfast? That was me pretty much every day. But now I've got the answer. I've got the solution, and it's Huel. It's my go-to. 35 grams of protein, 6 grams of fiber, 27 essential vitamins and minerals, no added sugar, and it's gluten-free. It's under $5 a meal, ready to go. I drink it daily. It keeps me sharp and not hangry. My energy's smoother all day. There's no crash, no skipping meals, just solid focus. And now they've added the daily greens ready to drink. It tastes fresh, clean, and it's only 25 calories. You're getting 42 vitamins, minerals, and superfoods with that thing, not to mention 4 grams of fiber and just 1 gram of sugar. It's the perfect morning pick-me-up or midday reset. If you're busy like me and you want healthy eating made simple, grab both of them. Huel's now in Target stores nationwide, or you can order online. Get 15% off your first purchase with code ONTEXAS at Huel.com/ONTEXAS. That's Huel, HUEL.com/ONTEXAS BetOnTexas using promo code OnTexas. Eat smart, stay fueled, keep it moving with Huel.
Hey, somebody asked about Dylan Berryman. We've been saying it on Texas football. If the Texas wanted Berryman in the class, they would have had him in the class. That doesn't mean Berryman's not a good over-the-ball prospect. He is, but just that if Texas wanted to keep him in the class, they would have kept him in the class. AJ XO, let's have a segment and talk about teams that are overrated. Man, that could go a lot of places. I mean, you could bring up the college football playoff, and I mean, that thing's all over the place. I mean, a lot of people think Notre Dame's overrated. A lot of people think A&M's overrated because of the schedule they play. Keep in mind, people are saying the same thing about Texas last year. Some people think Texas is way overrated right now because they look like hammered dog poo on offense 99% of the season. So, I mean, you can argue – that's where I think college football is in such a great place right now. You can argue a lot of people are technically maybe overrated in the eyes of fans or people right now. It's gonna be fun to see how it plays out. I'll say that. But you could go down the list and come up with a reason. Probably more than half the teams ranked in the top 15 of college football playoff are overrated right now.
Hey, we have a super chat. Well, we got a couple super chats. Let's start with this one from Longhorn Frenzy. Thank you, Longhorn Frenzy. Appreciate you as always. Good morning, fellas. Jerry, I've heard you mention the word JUCO twice now. Is there any names that Texas fans should be aware of?
No, just I keep mentioning that because there's real evaluations going on at that level. So, and if it is, it would be I think it'd be on defense. Until an offer's made, no. I mean, it's just evaluation, but it's something that wasn't evaluated the last couple of years. But it is being looked at a little bit this year on defense. But I'm not going to throw out names if it just, right now. Let's see if anything gets serious. I mean, but it's just of note that it's not just high school kids right now. They are taking a look at a few JUCO kids too, covering all bases, which is what they should do.
To Jerry's point, Texas is specifically looking for an over-the-ball defensive tackle right now. And that will be either in the portal or some other way where they think they can get somebody that can play almost immediately. Because even if a Josiah Sharma comes back and he's a true over-the-ball 330, 340-pound guy, they don't have another one coming back next year.
Yeah.
And because Brevard and Shaw are both out of eligibility. So they want one of those big dudes that can eat blockers inside.
And by the way, one of the interesting things with JUCO now, normally it's been play 2 years of JUCO and you play 2 years of power of D1. Well,
yeah, that's going to change. That's true. I didn't even think about that.
Now you might get 3 out of them.
Or 4.
I
mean, Pavia is cleared to come back next year if he wants to.
Yep.
He can be like on AARP before he leaves college football.
Yeah. So if you find a really good JUCO D lineman or edge player, it's not just a 2-year deal anymore. That's like getting the guy out of the portal with more years to play. So it's something that I think that schools will start looking at a little bit more, even though JUCO football has taken a huge hit because there's no ACT, SAT requirements anymore. So the talent level, the depth on the JUCOs isn't there, but it doesn't mean there's still not some really good players there. And a lot of times it's guys that got hurt as seniors that didn't get recruited, or kids that were late to football that maybe even just started playing football in JUCO because basketball didn't work out. So there's some interesting dynamics in JUCO football, and it's kids with really big upsides right now, the best players.
We got Jeff Carey here with Super Chat with revenue. SEC TV revenue per team 2027, 70 to 90 million. 2028, 90 to 105 million.
Good. You can see why Brian Kelly gets a $56 million buyout and they don't blink.
Yep.
Or whatever it is, 54. What's the exact number? I'm not sure. Look, the revenue is going to continue to go up. What will be interesting is what there are look-in rights according to the agreement from the House settlement for college football teams going forward. So we'll see what that means for NIL apportionment as well going forward. Because if that number goes up disproportionately like that, Jeff, there will be more money available for players at those schools too. It's look, college football has never been more popular.
Yes.
All this, I mean, that's the thing that I always come back to, and I know other people nationally say it as well, and I think it's a valid point, is despite all of the things that we see behind the scenes. I mean, look, do I love just unfettered NIL and all this? No, not really. I think we're losing the part about academics and teaching these young people and giving them an education. We're losing some of that, or too much of it sometimes, in my opinion. But at the same time, as it goes forward like this, it's just never been a more popular sport. Yeah. And I think the playoffs is part of the reason for that. I think that the quality of play right now is as high as it's been in some instances. So just a lot of different reasons for it right now. But college football's, whether it's money that brings along the product or what have you, it's just getting better and better, I think.
Yeah. Blake, do you have the college football playoff ranking you can bring up by chance? Because I want to get into why college football is
the playoff rankings. Is that what you said?
Yeah. The first playoff ranking, because this is why college football is in a great place now, despite all the things going on around NIL and the guardrails that need to happen, NCAA and everything else. If you bring up that, like last year, Indiana fans had hope in football for the first time since when? Boise State finally got their chance, right? Last year, after wanting their chance for so long. This year, whether they deserve to be in it or not, and I agree with Bobby, either James Madison, maybe a team from the AAC, or San Diego State is going to get their shot at playing one of the big boys in one of these games. But Virginia fans have a reason to follow college football right now. Virginia fans, when's the last time they really did? When's the last time they thought? Louisville fans are in the game right now. When's the last? Georgia Tech fans are in the game right now. I mean, so think about how many fan bases with a 12-team playoff and wait until it goes to 16 are being brought into the game again and having a reason to care about how their team finishes a season, because that's where we're at. I mean, there are so many teams now. Ole Miss fans. I mean, just think about this. Look, Utah fans, BYU fans, Texas Tech fans, thanks to Cody Campbell. But look at all these teams, and then think about how many of these fan bases didn't think that they had a reason to really follow college football because they didn't factor in at the end. Indiana fans for years said, we don't have a chance in this sport. This thing's set up for Ohio State and Alabama and the SEC and USC and Texas and Oklahoma. That was the thought of fans for many years. I mean, let's get the basketball season. These people have a chance now. These fan bases have a chance now. And that's why Vanderbilt, I mean, that's why college football, and I think it needs to get to 16 as soon as possible for the playoff because of this, is all these fan bases have a reason now. And I think it's great for the sport. It's what makes basketball, even though it's never going to be as big as football, I get it, so cool, is because all these fan bases think they have a shot. They can go to the NCAA tournament. They can go sit in an NCAA tournament game and follow their team to March and have a reason to. That's what we're getting in college football. It's really cool to see for fans. By the way, somebody asked about basketball recruiting. I think Austin Goosby's still Texas and slightly over BYU. Signing days next Wednesday begins on the 12th. BYU is going to make a big run here at the end. I think Texas is still a pretty good spot. We'll see how it turns out. Cameron Williams, the 6'11", five-star power forward, that's Texas, Duke, Arizona. I think it's hard for me, not saying I'm going to be right, it's hard for me if I'm Cameron Williams to, knowing NIL is good anywhere you could go, look at Duke's losing Boozer and Arizona lose Koa Pete and say that's not a really inviting place for me when Texas is not set to really lose anybody. I mean, not that Nick Cody's better than Cameron Williams, but he's going to be 2 years ahead. Matas, a year ahead, 2 years ahead in college basketball, a year ahead at Texas, even though he's a different position. I think it's very easy to look in the direction of Arizona and Duke and see instant 25, 27 minutes a game at those places. So we'll see what happens. But the kid and the family really like their visit to Texas.
Well, we got another super chat to get to, but first, Bobby, I'm going to let you tell everyone about BKCW one last time.
Yeah, all season long, you've heard us talk about how Longhorn-owned BKCW helps you escape the insurance trap. You know the drill. Renewal time rolls around. You scramble for quotes and end up stuck with a higher price. BKCW helps you and your business break that cycle. They equip you with a wide variety of tools like safety training programs, dedicated risk consultants to save you time, make your employees safer, and then show insurance carriers that your business is a good fit. Let's face it, when it comes to premiums, most factors are out of your control. BKCW focuses on what you can control, and that's your risk profile. If you want to learn more about what BKCW can provide you and your business, go to bkcw.com or send an email to info@bkcw.com to get started and get the support you deserve. That's bkcw.com.
Thank you, Bobby. And let's see here. That super chat from Rocky P.
This is what we talked about yesterday, and I'm glad he brought this up because I did look at this as well.
He said, I asked yesterday in research, Texas wins out. They make the SEC championship game. We have tiebreaker over Ole Miss beating Georgia. Aggie tears would flow with the year they've had and still coming to Texas. Just win, baby.
Yeah. So if Texas wins out, they would go to the SEC championship game because 1, they beat Georgia, 2, they beat A&M. Assuming Alabama doesn't trip up, right? But the reason is exactly what Rocky P said. I think it goes to, if you're tied with Texas and Ole Miss and they didn't play each other for a head-to-head, then it goes to the head-to-head of the highest-ranked opponent, which would be Georgia. And Texas will, in that scenario, if Texas wins out, they will beat Georgia and Ole Miss will not have. Now, maybe Rocky P and I misunderstood the rule, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So even though there's another common opponent in Mississippi State, Ole Miss plays at Mississippi State at the end of the year, I think it goes to the highest ranked opponent, which that would obviously be Georgia, even if they lost one more game.
No, Alabama.
Georgia. No, but Texas doesn't play Bama. I'm talking to Texas, Ole Miss. If it comes down to those two guys for the other spot, the common opponent they played, yeah.
Yeah, Alabama will be – if Alabama wins out,
yes,
they're going to be one of them. They've got the bird's eye view along with A&M right now.
Yeah.
And then we got one more before we get out of here. This one from Corey B says, do you think G5 should have its own playoff, but less teams separate from the Power Four?
Hey, they can have more. I don't care. The problem here that I have right now is in college football, there are 134 teams now that are quote unquote Division I or FBS. And because of new rules, all of those schools, quote unquote, have the same rev share available to them. Okay. That's nice, but really it's been 20 to 30 schools that have led NCAA college football forever. I have no problem with everybody doing whatever they want, but the teams that have the most revenue should have a higher payroll. That's how the world works. Google can pay you more than startup.com can, right? And so I think there needs to be a separation, whether it's G5 schools like Boise State or Fresno State that are separate. I don't know if it goes that deep or if it's lower down, frankly, a UTEP or a UTSA.
I got a question about the future of all this. If you're a G5 and the rev share wouldn't change, would you consider going to spring football and having your own playoff?
That's
because then the major schools, there's only one portal window. They can't come rip your players if you have a spring league and it's on TV. Would you also stand to make more TV money if the G5s ended up being a spring football league and they have a little 4-team playoff at the end, their own playoff, if they keep the same rev share? Is that not something that could be looked at in the future?
They would have to change the portal back to having 2 portal availabilities for players to want to be part of that, though, Jerry.
Yeah.
So I have long been an advocate for spring football at at schools that are not getting a huge portion of TV revenue. I would definitely watch spring football that is actually organized and not some XFL bastardization of what football is, over some of the things I do in the spring.
Yeah.
So I've long been that proponent. I don't know if we'll get there ever, because I think too many smaller NCAA schools are tied to the basketball.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
That's the hard thing. That's the hard thing.
If I were the czar of the NCAA, I literally would go to Akron and Toledo and Buffalo and UTSA and UTEP and say, hey, why don't we move this to a March through May deal?
Yes. Totally agree.
We would make more money.
Yep.
We would control some TV sets.
Yes. And let that be the evaluation period for the Power 4 teams.
Yes.
Next year in January, if those kids want to jump into the portal, they can.
Or not even January. Make it May after the season's over. Let them go right away. I mean, you think some guy leads I don't know, named South Alabama team to a national championship in the spring, and he's throwing the ball all over the yard? You don't think he won't be somebody's prayer in high level Division I by that August? Sure, he will. It would make college football a year round sport, which I think it deserves.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by BKCW Insurance. We want to thank BKCW along with Mint Mobile, Prize Picks, Huel, Von Lane, Culligan Water, and Warby Parker for sponsoring today's show. And
I want to follow. Okay, go.
NFL, NBA, and NHL are a monopoly syndicate, says Jeff Carey. So thank you, Jeff.
Marcus Myers, and then I think Rillo asked, how would that affect guys in their NFL aspirations? I mean, they could get drafted right out of it, right in April. I mean, they're still being scouted. I don't know if it really affects it, other than they can't take part in a combine.
Look, NFL could move its draft back too.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a fairly arbitrary date, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think it would be better for the college. I think it'd be better for, college football. Are we really playing college football anymore? I think it'd be best long term. I've thought that for a few years. College coaches think so too, that coach at the G5 level. A lot of them.
It'd be fair.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again to our sponsors. Of course, thank you for tuning in. Bobby, I know we got the high school show coming up in a little bit, but before I let you tell everyone what's next, I do got to give a quick shout out, because I promised my son I would, to his team. They're junior high, but they won their district yesterday, and he came out of concussion protocol, got to go in the game, played, made some great tackles. So he got to be part of that. So congratulations to you and your team for being the district champions. And he wanted me to mention they're the smallest school in the district and still whipped everybody. So I had to mention that. Now then, Bobby, what's next?
Well, by the way, we got Texas women's hoops tonight. I believe, who are they playing? 24 Richmond. The men play tomorrow as well.
There you go.
Women's volleyball in Gainesville as well tonight. Today we have the field house coming up. Blake, you and Coach Buchanan, Coach Shipley on that, as well as Carl Padilla. Hopefully that's a good episode about this weekend's high school football matchups as well. We also have the 3:00 live stream. Myself, Jerry, and Rod Babers will be on that. So I look forward to talking to you guys then. I want to say this, and I don't do this often, but last night, Rod Babers Marcus Myers and Coach Bob Shipley had an episode, a live stream, and really the last 5 to 10 minutes of it were something I think that everybody could listen to. If you want to go back and listen to it, I listened to it twice myself. And it starts around, and I'm trying to make this as easy as possible for people that want to do this. It talks about Marshawn Nealon, the Dallas Cowboys player who allegedly or apparently took his own life earlier this week, and talks about mental health in a way that I think more men probably need to talk about it, frankly. Coach Shipley gave his own personal testimony within that I thought was awesome. Literally, like I said, I've watched it twice. If you have time today, please go and watch that. Just take the 5 to 10 minutes. It's the last 5 to 10 minutes of the live stream. Starts around the 53-minute mark from last night, but it was very, very powerful. Thank you all for watching us here at On Texas Football. We appreciate it very much. But we'll be back with more today. Also have some news and notes coming on recruiting on the website ontexasfootball.com.
If you're not a member of ontexasfootball.com, you can use promo code OTFOG when you sign up. Get an annual subscription for just $39.95. That's for new subscribers only. Limited time offer, so be sure to check that out. We'll be back on Monday morning. Hope you all have an absolutely outstanding weekend, and we will see you then. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe.